Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Gate 7 International. I am Costas Llanos, or Costas with a K, and I'll be your host for tonight. And I am joined by none other than the one and only Aris Bouloubasis. Ari, how are you today?
I've been better. I've been a whole lot better.
Well, that was just me trying to be, trying to be a host right there. I think we can all echo the same sentiments there, Ari. Quite a disastrous Sunday, quite a hapless Sunday, a disappointing Sunday. But before we get to all of that, guys, please, if you haven't done so already, please do like and subscribe. Liking this video really helps the algorithm and really helps the channel grow. And if you subscribe, please add to our subscription as we near 4,000 subscribers on YouTube. Let's share the message to all the Greeks of the diaspora and, of course, all the Greeks in Greece and Cyprus. Olympiacos fans everywhere. Every time we go to the Karaiskaki, we meet people from all over the world. Me myself have met people from Australia, from Greece, obviously from Greece, and from the US, from many areas. And it's always an honor to see how far the name of Olympiacos, the good name of Olympiacos, has gone. And obviously, do support us on Patreon. Please do check out patreon.com slash Gate7 International. That's patreon.com slash Gate7 International. And join us for some amazing perks, such as joining our WhatsApp group, where we're gonna be giving you all the latest regarding Olympiakos, our opinions, some analysis, a lot of cool graphs that Aris makes with AI, all of the detailed stats regarding our team, who's doing well where, who's not doing well where, and obviously some amazing interviews that keep coming your way. So, Ari, quite a game we had today. Olympiacos visited the Pantesaliko to take on Volos. The scoreline was 2-2, which was obviously not the right scoreline. It should have been quite different. I got lots to say, but I think I'd like to start with you first. So, what do you make of what we saw there, Adi?
Well, Costa, there's a lot. It's unfortunately, I mean, I don't even know where to begin, to be honest with you. Because the title of the episode, right? Thrylos robbed as chaos erupts in dramatic encounter. That's the title of the episode. And there's so many things that can exist in a vacuum, so many things that can exist collectively. There's a lot of people that say it's not, it's still Volos, which is true. It is still Volos. We should win one way or another. But all of these things can be true. It is Volos. We should have won. The way VAR was used, which isn't just the case with Greece, although this was probably one of the worst instances of VAR I've seen since VAR has been put together. All of these things can be true, from the players, individual mistakes, again, causing a lot of problems for us, especially in the back. There are so many things that lead up to this. The environment that we play in, we do ourselves no favors. The structure of the club. I mean, Costa, the article that you wrote, that we published this morning, the blog, the 10 questions for Olympiakos and for Martinez, I thought hit so many things like on the point. Organization, plan, structure. What is the plan? And all of this chaos that goes on in the background comes to a head when something like this happens. Freiburg was a disaster, and that was a disaster for different reasons. But were the refs our problem against Freiburg? No, they weren't. We were just garbage against Freiburg. And then we have this game against Volos. And again, I'm not putting the blame on any one person in particular, because there's a lot of stuff that goes into today. Sure, the VAR usage was terrible. Absolutely. But it's just everything around it is also bad. If we were playing well from start to finish today in the Volos game, and this happened, or if we were playing really well and then this happens, That's one thing. But if you're not playing well and you start getting these results, any press release from the club, which is the same as it always is, let's be honest, doesn't mean much. And I have spent so much of today annoyed, angry, and upset. And it's still difficult, even though now I feel like I'm in like a better position than I was before. I've It's still hard for me to like coalesce my thoughts and really say everything in a coherent way that I want to say, because there's so many problems. And then the fans after the fact. Okay, we're not going to get a point deduction this time because the game finished, but we're going to have 2 to 4 matches behind closed doors in addition to what we already have. We're not going to have fans in the stadium, Costa, potentially until March. So I understand that fans get upset. You're upset on the field, and I understand that they get super incensed and they feel like they have to take action by entering in the field. But let me ask you, Costa, what good has come from any fan involvement on the pitch? What good has that? How have they? I saw this on Twitter. We have to protect the team because nobody else will do it. How are you protecting us? How is anybody throwing a firecracker or that's jumping on the field and attacking police or the VAR booth, as shitty as they are? How is that protecting the team? When you make the team play behind closed doors, how are you protecting the team when we're getting a point deduction and losing games on paper because of that? There's so many people to blame for so many different things this season. And the fans aren't without blame too, especially the ones that go to the stadium and do this kind of things. It's it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, Costa. We like to get upset. A lot of people like to get upset about Martinez for certain things, right? Need I remind everybody, if we don't lose that game on paper, I think that Olympiacos Panathinaikos game, after we got the goal, we either draw or win that match if it finishes, in my opinion. At this point, even with this draw, if we don't lose that game on paper, we're still winning the league. We're still ahead. We're still at the top of the table. So Martinez is risking getting fired, right? When on merit, he should be at the top of the table. That's what we're talking about here. And then this happens today. Was the game 2-2? Was 2 goals getting called back? Retsos getting a red card? Ibora being a dumbass? Is that on him? Is that on Martinez? Now, I'm not absolving him of blame for things, but this is just me kind of my thoughts as they're coming. But my message here is we talked a lot about when the press was talking about, the players had a chat. Lambro was joking about Costas Fortounis' accent in a locker room chat. Words mean nothing if you don't have the actions to back them up. And that doesn't just go for the players. That goes for the club as well. When we say all of these things, we have to take the actions to back it up. So the club now needs to take an action to back itself up. What is the action? Well, that's for them to decide. But the action either needs to be one thing or another. No more vagueness with the insiders and media. You either support the coach, you back him, you lay it on the line right now, or you do the opposite. You make a stance. That is the action that has to be taken. Stop leaving the stuff in the wind, the vagueness. Take the action, whether it is to fire Martinez or not. Our opinion on that is a different story, but back up the sentiment, back up the words with the action. Stand behind the coach if you're going to stand behind the coach. Say what you're going to say. That's it. I talked about the communication on the last episode. Costa, you and I also kind of talked about that as well. Communicate that. I mean, we have to evolve a little bit here, because this club set the standard with Pedro Martins. He had success, and even on the decline, we stuck with him. He was here for over 4 seasons, Costa. Fired, of course, at the beginning of the 5th season, very early on. Well, the other top clubs in Greece took notice. Ike brought on a coach. They've stuck behind him. He's now here. Jovanovic has now been at Panathinaikos for a while. Bauk brought Lucescu back, and things were hairy for a while. They've still stuck with him even after his return. The other clubs in Greece, except for Aris, in the top clubs, we'll say, have learned and they've adapted and they have taken this on themselves and they've adapted and done this. We've now regressed.
Well, please do let me if there are still any issues with my audio. I look at the banner down there, VAR travesty, but it's still Volos. Well, at the end of the day, I mean, if you're playing at a game where you should have scored 4 goals, but
Right.
VAR says no, I'm gonna cut 2 of them. Well, doesn't matter if it's Volos, doesn't matter if it's Real Madrid, doesn't matter if it's Kato Playa. I mean, if you're getting really bad calls from Volos, that's still an issue. And plus, this is a team that, well, is having its own issues. It comes from a 5-0 humiliation against Freiburg, arguably Olympiakos' most humiliating loss in Europe. And plus, there was a lot of tension and a lot of worry and a lot of stress regarding Diego Martinez, because the feeling was that Diego Martinez would be done after Volos, that a new manager would come in. Carlos Carvalhal was brought up from CNN Portugal. Others are talking about Nuno Espirito Santo. It's going to be a Portuguese guy because the new technical director, Pedro Alves, is also Portuguese. Therefore, it makes sense that it's going to be a Portuguese guy. And it showed that the club was affected from it by the way Yorgos Masouras and Ayoub El Kabi celebrated their goals that were overruled. They ran to him and hugged him. Masouras even called his teammates to do it, to join him in this hug for the coach. And they didn't do it because Martinez gives the best hugs and they're going to miss those hugs. They did it because they wanted to send a message to Vangelis Marinakis, to the powers that be, to us, to the fans. Stick with this guy. Don't get rid of him. We want him here. We're fighting for him. Even with the referees and VAR against us, we're still fighting. And God damn it, you know what, guys? The last few days, I've read a lot of comments. I've heard a lot of people saying the club is in shambles. The team is shit. You know what, guys? Those guys fought today. Yeah, the club is not great. We don't play like Pep Guardiola's Barcelona. Yes, you're right. But those players kept fighting till the end. After 2 disallowed goals, after 2 bullshit decisions from VAR. Did you see where the lines were in Masouras' goal? First of all, I mean, the Masouras goal didn't make any sense, the line where they put the line. They put the lines on Ayoub El Kabi, not Masouras, was behind El Kabi. And the lines even went through, what was his name? Aljo. They went through him, through his face. The red line went through his face and then went up to the stands. The same with the second goal. The same with it was just unbelievable, the whole thing today, and they kept fighting. I see some people saying the club is finished. We're a joke. We're a shambles. Marinakis should leave. For those of you who read my article, I finish it with the following warning: you think we're finished now? Wait until Marinakis leaves, and you'll see finished. I promise you on everything I got, you will see finished. I'm not talking about not making it to the Champions League. I'm not talking about not winning the league. I'm talking about relegation, motherfucker. That's what I'm talking to you about. If Marinakis leaves, that's what's going to happen. In Greece, a football club without an owner is like a 2-year-old without parents. You're fucked. You cannot go without an owner. This ain't the Premier League. This ain't the Championnat. This ain't La Liga. This ain't Serie A. If Marinakis leaves, we're screwed. And I'm sorry to say this, but
Costa, the Serie A teams that have been firing their coaches mid-season, look who they've hired.
Sir,
Nobody special.
Sir, what do you mean? What do you mean by that?
No, I'm saying, imagine if some of these Italian teams that have fired their coaches early on, right? I think there's 2 that I can think of. I listen to Serie A podcasts a lot, and they talk about the drought of coaches available. If it's hard for a club in a top 5 league to find a coach, how do you think we're going to find a good one in the middle of the season? Of course.
But I would like to address a comment here from a real fan, Mike Scobb, Finished, we will be together with the team on second division. Well, there's a real fan. I would like to conclude by saying that what the fans rightly chanted towards the players at Freiburg, όποιος δεν μπορεί να πάει να γαμηθεί, those who can't then F off, this also goes for fans. Olympiacos is not a kind of team that you follow because, oh, we win the league in December, oh, we make it to the knockouts without much hassle. You're going to support this team when they're at a relegation bout. And if you're not okay with that, go support Man City. Go support one of those bullshit Saudi clubs if that's too much for you. Όποιος δεν μπορεί να πάει να γαμηθεί. To the players, to Marinakis, to the fans, to everyone. And on that note, I would like to welcome the other Costas, the one with the C. So, Costa, what's your take?
Well, good evening, everyone. I wasn't sure if I was going to come out tonight. Already it's been a difficult week with the drumming that we had in Europe, and a lot of what was going on before today's game had nothing to do with the game itself. As we know, all the talk was about imminent change of manager, Martinez's last game, all about getting the 3 points and just getting on with it and expecting a big Monday, lots of changes on Monday. In the end, I don't know what to expect tomorrow. You guys already talked about the circumstances of the game and the VAR decisions and whatnot, so I don't really, I don't want to comment on that now. I just feel like if I was Martinez today and I had a notion that I was about to get sacked, then after seeing how today evolved, I'd probably be like, do you know what? Screw this. Anyway, I'm out. No professional football player, no father taking his son or daughter or kids to the football stadium. No one should have to go through what went through today in terms of the surrounding violence. And I understand people being upset. I understand people getting emotional. But I think that this is, we've fallen into the trap today. I think we all know, people that watch this podcast, Olympiakos fans, we all know the situation in Greek football, how it is. I think our opponents knew we were weak, knew we were hurting, and they knew where to hit us today. Not to say that we're not accountable for our own mistakes, the penalty giveaways, Retsos, Ibora, but we clearly could have turned that game around, and it just feels like they didn't want to let us play the game fair, and that's what infuriates everyone. And then you just have, it's just a question of separation of people that can control their emotions and people that can't, people that feel so angry, so infuriated that it leads to violence. And it's not the first time we see it in Greek football. It's not just, our fans. It's, we see it. It's a societal thing. In the end, we're going to end up talking about societal issues on a football podcast. That's what we're talking about. So, that was ugly at the end. And, you felt like, even though it was a drab game and we weren't playing particularly well, like you saw a passion. Like Masouras's goal, he ran off to the manager and he was calling everyone to go to the manager and celebrate together. That was really like quite emotional to see, like given the circumstances around the game, as I said earlier. And then the same with El Kabi, and then that being taken away. And while for the second goal, I think El Arabi is marginally offside, let's say, but the first one, if they didn't, find El Kabi obstruction, they would have found something else. You just feel like they were going to find something to screw us, and that's what really makes it hard today. And then, of course, the game didn't finish. And that's sad because I felt like we could have won.
It did finish.
No, yeah, no, yeah, but it didn't. Like, do you know what I mean? Like the game ended prematurely, and then they both agreed to go out and kick the ball around and end the game so that they don't get penalised. So you know, I felt like we could have won that game at the end, and you know, things got out of hand. And I was saying, if I was Martinez, maybe I wouldn't mind leaving the situation. And then the other thing is, and I'll conclude with this. If I'm a manager, prospective manager that's been in discussions with Olympiacos the past few days, or you know, considering taking up an offer to join Olympiacos, you know, no logical man in their right mind would want to come to Greece right now because of the situation in Greek football, and of course, you know, our situation itself is challenging already, as you outlined in your blog article, Costa. So, you know, where does that leave us? We don't know. The statement that the club came out with was more or less what I expected, but doesn't offer any solution, and I don't know what the solution is, to be honest. I do have an idea of what a solution might be, but just that there are no politicians with the balls to do that. And sorry, I said I would stop already. You know, if the Greek Prime Minister has the balls, and this is an unpopular opinion, tomorrow you go out and you make a statement saying all Greek clubs are excluded from European competitions hitherto until you sort your act out. Because that's where we are. That's where we are with Greek football. It's a vicious cycle. And that's the only thing that's going to make them, it's going to hurt everyone's pocket, and it's going to make everyone sit around the table and say, all right, we need to fix this because it's hurting all of us. But I don't think, you know, we all know Greek politicians don't have the balls to do that for other reasons that we can't talk about on this podcast either.
Well, I would like to address a quick comment based on what I said before from Lakis Gavalas. Bullshit. There are hundreds better than Marinakis. The team would be better off in 2 years without any of these generous and selfless benefactors. That's exactly the kind of things Panathinaikos said before they got rid of the Vardinogiannis family. And now they haven't won the league for 13 years, and they basically haven't done anything in Europe for about 10 of them. I would like to ask you guys, I mean, obviously in this podcast we don't talk about referees, but we cannot ignore what happened here. I mean, I'm looking at those pictures. I've taken screenshots, and I'm looking at the first goal. I mean, the line starts at El Kabi, and Masouras is behind him, and Masouras was the one that scored the goal. And obviously I'm looking at the red line that's all over the place and even covers the stands. And then I'm looking at the second goal, and it really looks like El Arabi is covered by Conta, what's his name, Cornet, and the line even goes through his hand. I don't know, the line is supposedly needs to start where the hand starts, but let's say it starts from the elbow. It's obvious here that he's still covering him. So my question, I guess, to you guys is that will Olympiacos be allowed to win the league? Can Olympiacos win the league this season? Let's say Olympiacos bring 3 amazing players in January, 3 players that just take Olympiacos to the next level, and it shows in the conference. I mean, will we see more refereeing calls like this? Ari, what do you think?
Look, man, it's not over by any stretch. I mean, we look what happened last year when we were way further back. Panathinaikos had their rut. They stopped their scoring, and everybody caught up, and it was tight until through the playoffs. So I really think I don't think it's. I think we still have a shot in this. Are things kind of bad and frustrating now? Yeah, but in the grand scheme of things, we're not far off from the top by any means. One or two drop matches from the other teams, and we're back right there at the top. I don't think that's the issue. But the VAR thing that you mentioned, Costa, look, you can go on our Twitter right now and you can see we have one. You can see both of the different VAR calls, right? The lines from both, and even from VAR capture to VAR capture, they are not applied congruently. They are slanted separately. They are completely misaligned. If one photo is aligned, then that means the other one is misaligned. Do you understand what I mean? So one of the two is incorrect. I believe the second goal called back was offsides. I believe that was the correct decisions. I believe that that VAR line is congruent. My problem is the first one, if you compare the two, is not in alignment at all. And just so you guys know, because they've said this before with VAR, because a lot of people talked about, oh, VAR can't be wrong, it's the computer. VAR is still manually input. The computer tells you the angles and when you're lining up your lines, the actual alignment as it is on the field, it gives you the degrees and the measurements. But you are still, as an individual, manually putting those on the screen. You are the one that's placing everything. The computer is telling you how far off you are, and you're making minor adjustments because you're supposed to be able to make those adjustments on the fly. So there is still a human element of error in VAR. And this is the problem with VAR. It is the usage of VAR that is also a problem, and it's inconsistent across Europe, both inside the booth and outside of the booth. All of this exists in a vacuum. So the issue with VAR kind of lends to that. But I don't think we're going to see stuff like that. Like, this was probably the most egregious thing I've seen in a couple of years. But we don't see that every week. You know what I mean? I don't think that we're going to see and even if that's the case, like, Olympiacos should be good enough to beat this. Like, that's what we always say, right? If we were a proper Olympiacos of old, we beat this. And we need to focus on what we can control. Can we control the refs and VAR? No, we can't control that. We have to focus on our football and what we can do to make ourselves better. That is what we need to focus on. We still have a chance to win this title. We have a couple of holes that need to be filled, and we have a couple of players that, quite frankly, need to fuck off. There's some players, I don't care the contracts that they have or what we spent, sunk cost. Some of these players that we're holding on to because we spent a lot of money to get them and we're paying them a lot of money, it's you're gone. That's it. You're done. Bring in what we can in January to patch what we can, and that's it. And then let the second part of the rebuild happen in the summer. We still have a shot here, though.
Obviously, Yoros Yatrou said something very accurate. We will likely be fourth in the table tomorrow evening. AEK are taking on Aris at home, and PAOK are facing Lamia also at home, I think. If they win, Olympiacos are fourth. Costa, anything you would like to add in regarding my first question? And how do you feel about the fact that Olympiacos could be fourth? How is that going to affect the team? Could be fourth.
To be honest, I'm not really interested in looking at the league table right now.
But from first to fourth?
I mean, we were second, but...
Before that? Before the Juancar incident?
Yeah, but look, man, the league's going to be decided in the playoffs. I believe that. I still think one of the sad things is that this league challenge this season is actually one of the most interesting in modern history, if not the most interesting. Yeah, because the competition is intense. Like you guys were saying earlier, the other teams, PAOK, AEK, Panathinaikos, they've had their managers. Well, Almeida now is in his second season.
Yeah.
Jovanovic has been there for a while. Lucescu's been there forever. So, those are close to like established rosters that they have. Like they have a way of playing, and that's what I mean. Like it's competitive at the top. And, some of the lower teams, like Offi, for example, or even Aris, like they're snatching points, or, Aris beat Panathinaikos the other week. So I don't think it's over by a long shot. But we've got to also stop these self-destructive tendencies that we have as a club. And I can't defend Diego Martinez for some of the things that he's done in the way that he manages during a game. Sometimes making subs too early, sometimes making subs too late, sometimes making the wrong subs, and we can talk about a whole host of things. Gordon in the summer, man, it was, let him cook. And now everyone's on about Vicente Iborra being rubbish and Kini being rubbish and Freire and all of these, signings that he's behind been below par. So, it's a huge reality check for us. And I just don't think the answer is sacking Diego Martinez right now, because I don't think we can find anything better. I think that we can make some tweaks in January, particularly at the 6. We don't have a 6. Santiago Hesse is not a 6. It really, like I talked about this on the last podcast, the gap between the defense and the midfield. Even the attack has deteriorated lately. But my point is, to your question, do we have any chance and how do we do it? You have to have a family. That's what they set out to build at the beginning of the season. But they didn't get it right. And now they need to fix it. They need to cut the dead weight. I'm fed up. I am fed up of going on Instagram and looking at Gustavo Scarpa's stories of him skating or promoting someone that skates, or him showing a picture of Lord of the Rings DVD set during the game, like during the time that his teammates are playing. It's like, fuck off, mate. Just cut him loose. Him, Sol Buchan, Omar Richards, cut the squad. Do what we did this time last year, essentially. There's a lot of dead weight to cut. Bring in a good centre-back if we can, but don't spend money for the sake of spending money.
Right.
Don't spend money for the sake
Biel can go with them too, to be honest with you.
Who?
Pep Biel can go too. Join them.
That's a sad story, mate. Since last season, it's a sad story because he could have been something.
Absolutely.
It could have been something, but they, for whatever reason, he hasn't clicked with the club. He came in and then they signed James Rodriguez, and then there were 5 players that could play the 10 last season. Then this season he started on the right. It hasn't worked for him, and he looked super frustrated when he came off today. I understand it. But, we have to, if there's something good that we can take out of today's game, if I can even say that, is the reactions on the goals before they were chalked off. Where was that on Thursday? Like the playing for the manager, the togetherness, where was it? That's a big question that I have, but that's what we need to bring moving forward. If we can get over the psychological trauma of everything that's happened again, another match that hasn't finished after the Panathinaikos game. Yeah. The players going off the field in tears because of the gas, the tear gas. You start to have questions like, what the hell am I doing here? What is this? Call my agent, get me out of here. You can't not worry about those things. That the players are thinking about those kinds of things in their head. But yeah, if they can sort out those mental issues, the board has to. The board has to set the tone here, because there's uncertainty over the manager. You're a player. You're reading. You're hearing that Martinez is gone. What you need certainty. If a player doesn't have certainty in his surrounding situation, you can't perform at your best. You can't perform at your best when the manager's there or he's not. There's no togetherness. So you need to nurture that. And the board, they have to bring some stability to the club. So they either need to cut the cord now. I think it's a bad decision to cut the cord with the manager, or they need to come out tomorrow and end it and say, we're staying with him until, whatever. He's our manager. We support him. We'll make the necessary tweaks in January and we go from there and we do what we can.
So let's sort this here. What do we vote? As Gate 7 International host, we have a poll going on. What do we vote on this? I vote Diego Martinez in.
Look, I want the project. I'm sick of the carousel. I can't do it anymore. I don't know who we'd get. I I honestly, if we did fire him, I'd be against finding whatever garbage is going to come in next. Sorry, I'm not on this train
Who
with
would you
Nuno
want?
Espirito Santo.
Who would
It's a
you want?
Thrylos, isn't it?
Who would you want?
Nobody's taking this job.
Yeah, nobody's going
to.
to.
Nobody in their
No.
mind
Wait a
take this
minute.
job.
Wait a minute.
We'll end up
Wait a
with
minute.
Jordan
Wait a
Cruyff.
minute. La. Easy. I'm asking Ari. He said if he goes, I wouldn't want someone like Carvalhal or Nuno Espirito Santo. Let's say he does go. What kind of manager would you have in mind?
I would rather Ibagaza do it if that's the case.
That's the answer I was looking for, Costa. That's the answer I was looking for.
Like what are we talking about?
I don't want.
Re Costa, Akuligo Costa, listen to me. If Diego Martinez leaves, and it could happen, if he leaves, that's what I'm asking, Ari. What kind of manager would you like? That's all.
Inigo.
Well, yeah, that's also option 2. But my
there's questions about the youth side. There's question about what do you do with the youth side if Anigo becomes manager again?
Well,
there's another issue that opens up, another door opens up, another void opens up in the vision.
In the end, here's also what the problem is. Look now the pattern of behavior we've created here. You fire a coach, you tell a coach you're open. You're open to a project that a coach or a new sporting director is going to bring. They're going to look at your history like, wait a minute, they were supposed to allow these other projects to happen. They fire coaches, nonchalantly after 1 or 2 months. Who wants to deal with that? And plus, we don't offer the allure of Champions League anymore. Like, how do people not understand this? You attract a different tier of coach. You attract a different tier of player, whatever it is, when you offer some regularity of Champions League or higher European competition. And we don't offer that. Who wants to deal with this nonsense? Who wants to deal with the Greek league? Who wants to deal with it? No top coach that can make a decent salary anywhere else is going to do it. No one. Even if we have Ibagaza to the rest of the season, good luck finding somebody that wants to deal with us in the summer. We would be looking for random coaches. We would be looking for somebody random in another league outside of the top 10 leagues. And then the second something bad happens, we end up firing them again. That's the pattern of behavior we have. That does nobody any good. I would much rather just finish the season. See, because things aren't as horrible as people believe they are currently. We're still in the chance for Conference League. We're not outside of first place yet. But I do understand the fear about, okay, now we have Martinez, but Gordon is elsewhere. I understand that fear. And if that part of the project is gone, and that part of the what's the word I'm looking for? That relationship was part of the rebuild, and now that's been fractured. How does this rebuild get impacted? Is Martinez going to have the same relationship with Pedro Alves that he did with Cordon? Are they going to interact the same way? If that's not the case, then you do have to get rid of Martinez, because then the rebuild is fucked to begin with. But at this stage, no, I'm not like I can't do the carousel anymore, man. It's doing my head in. I'm sorry.
Do you, Costa? I suppose you agree with both of us, right?
You don't sack him before the Bachka-Topola game, man.
Absolutely.
I think Ari said it. Ari said it on the last pod too. Like, you just don't sack him before that game.
Ridiculous.
And honestly, like, I thought that if the game ended normally today, I think we would have found a goal one way or another. Like, I felt like we're going to take this, they're not going to steal it. We're not going to let them do it. Even though we're far from solid. We're far from solid, but I felt that we could do it. So no, I'm totally against sacking him right now. For all his faults, and I've said it many times before, like he has his faults, but again, the situation he inherited, it was a complete fiasco of a situation. You talk about starting from zero. There's no expression to express what it was he inherited. And just the comparison.
You had a great, Costa, on Twitter. You actually had a great description, or a great what's the word I'm looking for? Metaphor for like what this was.
Sure,
Somebody said,
recorded.
"Oh, Martinez took a sinking ship," and you said, "No, the ship was already at the bottom of the ocean." I thought
Yeah.
that was a great metaphor.
Yeah. No, thank you. Yeah, exactly, mate. And I made a comparison to Martinez as well because you put out some stats about comparing the rebuilds, what the results were like, and what the tempo was like first season of Martinez versus Martinez. Yeah, sorry.
Behave.
What did I want to say? Martinez came in April. He had a squad that was set, whereas we were really building the bridge as the summer went on, and adding pieces, and then bringing in pieces late, Solbakken, Podence, etc. So there was a formula there. There was a formula that got us through qualifiers, and then we had to add pieces to the formula, and then somewhere, the food went a bit stale, and then the food started to go a bit wrong. And now you need to change the recipe or make some tweaks to the recipe to, cut some things out that aren't really bringing anything. And Yorgos Murdzanu saying, I've unfollowed Scarpa a long time.
Costa Levoyani influencer.
He really, he's really got under my skin. Like, I can't. The guy's not a footballer anymore. Ever since the crypto scandal where he lost a shit ton of money in Brazil, like he's finished as a footballer.
Can I ask, guys? Obviously when we hear a report here in Greece, we gotta take it with the smallest grain of salt possible. A lot of reports were saying that Diego Martinez is done after Volos. Do you guys think that what happened today with all the VAR chaos, the fan trouble, the police throwing tear gas, do you guys think that maybe that saved him, or do you think it was bullshit? It was BS to begin with. I think about him going. I think it was BS. Personally,
I don't think it was bullshit. I think legit they have been looking for a manager to replace him, but haven't been able to find one, or at least we've talked to enough people that know things, and we've talked to journalists. What we've been told is that the initial report that came out after the Freiburg game, it was a bit of sensationalism, but it was a qualified, let's say, statement, because history shows that is a very likely scenario that Martinez could get sacked after eating 4 against Bauk and eating 5 in Europe. It's humiliating. So it's, you read the tea leaves, it's quite possible. There's been plenty of reports about managers, so I don't believe it was bullshit that we've been looking for a manager. But in communication, you always have to adapt. You always have to adapt to what's going on around you and what the narrative is and what the context is. And I think things changed today. Not only the way the players reacted, but also just everything that happened today. Are you really gonna throw? It feels like if we do cut the cord, we're throwing more oil on the fire. It's like, let's kind of make this situation even more kind of, what's the right word? More complicated than it is. Like they talked about the club needing an electroshock. I think we got the electroshock today, and we got more than an electroshock. I don't think we need any more kind of snap decisions. Now's the time for a bit of calm, cool heads. But are there cool heads? Is the question.
What do you think, Ari? Did today save Martinez? Perhaps.
So, look, in a normal, I think maybe under what we would consider a normal ownership, it probably would, right? Because no one would blame him for the Ratos mistake, then the called back goals. But the way that Olympiacos has acted in the past, I don't think this situation is that, because our club is just as likely to blame him and the refs all in the same sphere. You know what I mean? Like, sure, we already saw the statement. They're going to blame the refs. They've already called the Greek league a mafia, and so on and so forth. But that doesn't mean they'll stop there. They'll shift blame on everybody, and they'll take it out on everybody. So I don't think he's more likely to be safe. I actually think that just because we didn't get a win here, regardless of the circumstance, it makes it even worse for him. But that's me. I think it did make it worse for him, unfortunately.
I see the fans are very vocal on our comment section. Let's have a look at the poll. We asked you, would you fire Martinez? 4 options. Yes, no. No, he's not the problem. Yeah, but others need to go too. So far, 33% of fans have answered no, he's not the problem. And the next majority is no with 28%. Then we got yes with 20, and then we got yes, but others need to go too, 18%. So our fans, Gate 7 International fans, they don't want Martinez gone. And I couldn't agree more, because as I said on my own article, we've changed more, within the space of 12 months, we've changed more managers than Taylor Swift has changed boyfriends. Okay, sorry, Swifties, don't unsubscribe. Please don't unsubscribe. No, they got power. They do that.
No, they do
that. They do. So yeah, apologies, Swifties, please. That was just a joke. Let's all calm down. I wish her the best. But nothing came of it. And like Costas said it so many times, and this needs to be repeated, who the hell is going to come and join Olympiacos, especially a respected manager? Why would they come to Olympiacos, especially after what happened yesterday, what happened with Juancar, what's going to happen next? Whether or not it involves us, it's a different story. Just be patient with this guy. Costa, you wrote an incredible article in the summer about why Diego Martinez failed at Espanyol. And you said it best. I mean, his success at Granada is stupendous. He took them from Segunda División, took them to the Primera División on his debut season. Then first season in La Liga, he finishes 7th. And do please correct me, but I have a feeling that's Granada's best ever finish in La Liga. Definitely this century. And then he takes him to the Europa League quarterfinals. Guys, this guy has talent. Yeah, he's no Carlo Ancelotti, but he has talent for Olympiacos. At this stage where we're at, he's good for Olympiacos. He can work at Olympiacos. Just stay the course. Let's see the vision. Like you said, Ari, let's see the plan. We got a nice comment here. Sorry, got the wrong one here. We'll get back to that though. Okay, no more of that. Guys, well, I would like to just talk about talk a bit about why the match was halted. We're hearing a lot of reports right now. One of the reports I heard is that a police officer threw a tear gas towards the stands. Obviously, the camera didn't show the actual scuffle, I guess because of sponsorship deals. But what we know is that tear gas was thrown towards the away end where Olympiacos fans were. Then they were shown all stacked up on the top, up there, waiting to either leave or come back because the tear gas was too much. So what I've read when it comes to possible penalties, it's all going to depend on the match report, by the way, by the referee, which we're going to know by tomorrow, I guess. If there was indeed a pitch invasion that included violence, then that could lead to a financial fine of somewhere between 50,000 euros and 250,000 euros, as well as a 2 to 4 games played behind closed doors. But if the fan invasion was in the surrounding area and it didn't include any violent act whatsoever, then there's going to be no matches played behind closed doors. From then on, I mean, if we do get another penalty, that means we're not going to have fans against Panathinaikos in the cup as well, and we still have this ongoing. We still have the current ban, which is going to last until the AEK game, where we're going to play AEK. I don't know what to say from then on, guys. I mean, Batska Topola next. What do we look at now? What do we look at? How do we think when we think about Olympiacos? What do we think now exactly?
Well, Costa, there's the only thing that we really can look at, and I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that's going to be going on now off the field. There's going to be plenty of discussions about a coach this week, of course. There's going to be plenty of other things talked about. I'm sure players, there's going to be already discussions about players that are getting shipped out already, the ones that have upset everyone. Pep BL, I'm sure, will be talked about this week. But the clear thing that needs to be focused on the field and coaching wise, and somebody brought it up in the comments already, is we have to figure something out with the defense. We have to figure out why we keep making so many mistakes, why we're so leaky there. If we're gonna shift the focus of what we're discussing, like away from the off the field issues or referees or coaches, the major football discussion we need to have, and the major football thing that needs to be talked about by Diego Martinez, is how do we solidify what's going on there? Because this is, as much as I don't, I think that the scheme functions for various reasons I brought up before. We have too many individual mistakes that have led to things, like the goals, for example. I mean, look at the Freiburg game. Eating 5 goals with an XG under 2. That was the story of our entire Europa League game. We have one of the top defenses in terms of the number of opportunities we've limited. One of the lowest XG per shot allowed. So we allow the least quality opportunities against us, yet we are eating goals left and right. Games like today against Volos, where our defense is, again, limiting opportunities, but we give up 2 penalties. 2 stupid penalties. Retsos again, and this isn't the first time Retsos has given up something like that. Ibora, giving up another one. Different story altogether. Whatever it is, that has to be. We need to figure that part out first. So on the field, that's what we have to fix. Whether it's a scheme thing, we've talked about the press and how it shifts into a 4-2-4, and how we leave kind of 2 midfielders while we have a little bit of a gap. Whether that coverage has to be fixed and we need to revert to something else, that needs to be done. We need to see Martinez adapt. We need to change things up here. I find it really amazing how Diego Martinez, in all the film I watched before when he first signed and we did the tactics analysis, was one of the most versatile coaches I'd ever seen, changing things constantly, game after game after game, depending on the type of team he would play against. But yet for Olympiacos, we kind of seem to do the same thing. And it was, if it's not one, it's the 4-3-3 against better competition. That hasn't worked either. So that, if we're talking about on-field adjustments, we need to figure out, how do we solidify the defensive line, specifically the central defense? And if it's not just the central defensive pairing or the central defense that's a problem, how do we fix the gap between the central defense and the midfield? This is the stuff that we have to focus on as a team. This is what we can control. Forget what's going on outside. Forget the refs. Forget all the nonsense with that ball. Forget the administration. For the players on the field and Martinez, what he can focus on, he needs to fix that. He needs to find out what the solution is. What are we going to do to give coverage to the back line so that we stop leaking these ridiculous goals? Because we are better than that, and we shouldn't be leaking these. That's for me what we have to focus on.
Clear as day. What do you think, Costa?
I think the versatility question has to do with the fact that when you're joining a new team, as he's done this season, and a team that's going through a rebuild, you don't want to play around with it too much. You want to set a framework for the players to work in, and we've seen that since he started, right? This 4-4-2/4-2-4 formation, with its variations, and then the first time we saw him change it was against West Ham at home. The 4-3-3 with Alexandropoulos and the 3-6/8s, because none of them are 6s and none of them are really 8s, apart from maybe Madi. So I think there's an explanation to the why haven't we seen more versatility from Martinez. I repeat to a point what I said earlier about the gap between the midfield and the defense. If you're an opponent coach and you look at us, what do you tell your team? You tell them hit them on the wings in transition, because the wing backs are high up and the wingers don't track back. So every time it's like you're either 1-on-1 or you've got 2 against 1s on our left side or our right side. There's an overload, and otherwise you just overload the bit between our midfield and defense, and that's what led to the first goal, to the penalty. That's what led to the second penalty, because you get the ball through those channels, and it's too late, and our guys have to bring their players down. If you look at all the goals we conceded, like Paqueta in London, Paqueta in the one in Karaiskaki was Kinney's bad clearance, but all the goals look similar. Yeah, so they need to fix that. I think for me, more than buying a centre back, I think priority number one in the January window is a 6, like a defensive midfielder. There's literally not there are 2 profiles that can play defensive midfield, anchorman in this squad. Iborra, not reliable. I think he gave what he had to give for the qualifiers. Don't know what else he can give. And Andreas Doi, who only played in that position during the friendlies. Maybe 1 or 2 of the first games of the season where he was brought on as a sub. Since then, he's been used as a centre-back. Lastly, next game against Olympiacos, no Retsos, no Poroso, no Freire. So we're going with Doi, Biancon, centre-back pairing again.
Or Biancon, Iborra can play still, can he?
Yeah, he can, but I think he'll go with Doi, Biancon, probably. That's my feeling anyway. But you don't have a hell of a lot of choices back there. And Olympiacos caused some trouble first game of the season that we played them.
It's going to be very difficult to break down.
Yeah, that's going to be a tricky game.
That is indeed true. As we approach an hour of this show, guys, please do not forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. If you like this video, this will really, really help the algorithm. And please spread the word. We're on 3,600 subscribers, very close to 4,000. Let's get the word out. So, Costa, you kind of touched on it. You said when it comes to the January transfer window, it's important to get a number 6 in. I would like to ask both of you, when it comes to the January transfer window, what is it that how do you think Olympiacos should tackle that? Costa, do you think we should sign another player other than a number 6?
Again, my main thing is don't spend money for the sake of spending money. Sadly, I feel like Jovetic was a waste. You know, I mentioned. Why am I saying that? Because I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, we need to sign a striker." It's like, yeah, but as one of the players told us this summer, if you want to buy a striker, like a good striker, to make a difference, you have to pay. You have to pay money, not just his contract, but like that costs money. Same for a centre back. Like we've not replaced Prime El Arabi. We haven't replaced it. El Kabi feels like such an underwhelming option when you look at him, like a player that's, no disrespect, like he's banged goals in, but he's just not the prototype Olympiacos striker. I think he's a decent squad player to have. Maybe a little bit better than Hassan in some ways. But you know, Jovetic, Jovetic feels like a panic buy. He's fragile. He's fragile. He hasn't really, you know, has he scored? Like he scored a penalty, gave an assist in the Offie game, but otherwise, man, nowhere near. Nowhere near. It's just like you have El Arabi. Even if he's like, they're kind of the same. Like they're both in the twilight of their careers. I honestly wouldn't mind going with El Arabi, El Kabi, and Babis Costulas or Algacin Bar as a third option. Rather than bringing in some, I don't know, like just someone for the sake of bringing someone. No. Even this guy that's being talked about, Carranza, from the MLS, I know for a fact his name's going to come up again in the January transfer window. Personally, never seen the guy play. Ari, maybe you can tell us more, but it feels like a massive gamble for a player that I think we're going to have to pay an arm and a leg for. They were, if the rumours are true, we were offering 6 or 7 million in the summer for him, and they rejected it. We're going to pay another 6 or 7 million after what happened with BL. But Labro made a really good point on the last podcast. Think about it this way. If you look at today's squad, who do you keep around next season? I promise you it's less than 10 players out of the
And
squad.
how many of them would want to stay, though? Because Juan Gimbom showed us that not a lot of those kind of players will stick around.
Including that consideration. Think about it. Pascalakis out of contract. Rodinei, stay. Ortega, stay. Retsos, stay. That's 3. Hesse, does he go? Big transfer move?
Retsos could also be sold, though.
Sure. None of that, I mean, exactly. Madi Camara, out of contract. Masuras, out of contract. Solbakken, on loan. Scarpa, on loan. Alexandropoulos, on loan. Podense, on loan. Brinic, contract. El Arabi, out of contract. El Kabi, out of contract. Jovetic, out of contract. You see? Where's the core? Where's the core for next year?
I would like to bring Hawaii representative Labros Sirmos. All of this bullshit with referees is a distraction to how shambolic this club is run and administered. Ari, how do you think we should approach the January transfer window, if any?
Well, I'm waiting. Labro looks like he's ready to sell me something in that picture, so I'm waiting to see what he's about to offer me.
I think he wants your vote.
the mayor fraud of Hawaii.
And what do you make about Carranza as well?
Well, so there was a question somebody had, I think it was Nolan Lidner Fox, had asked about what our budget will be, or what our transfer budget's going to be in the winter. And that plays into kind of what I believe I both should and will happen. So we had to sell, I brought this up multiple times in the summer, we had to sell at least 20 million worth of players. I didn't expect us to spend more than 10 million euros, and I don't think we did. But we had to sell 20 million because of some FFP trouble we were going into. Needed that revenue to offset that. We didn't make it to Europa League. We're not going to be. We're going to be in Conference League. This now is going to result in a lower forecast in revenue because we're in Conference League versus Europa League. So we can't forecast or conditionally forecast revenue to be able to get more players, better players, more expensive players, which means we will have to sell in January. And I don't just mean cutting contracts to save those. We have to sell players if we want to sign them. So that being said, since this is going to be part of the problem, I'd rather us not get some worthless loans like we got. We already saw Frere, forget about it. Kini, I said in the scouting report, I didn't think he and Iboda were guys that were supposed to be main players. They were supposed to be depth options and also just to get us through qualifiers. We can't sign anything else like that. We need something else. I would much rather pull from the B team and pull from the academy. Algacin Ba, he won an award for the best B team player in the Super League, in Super League 2 last season. Why haven't we given this shot in the first team? Can he be any worse than what we've seen? No. And he's healthy. So I don't, that needs to be what the strategy is. You know what? The budget's tight. We're not going to have a lot of great fixes in January anyway. Guess what? Let's rely on something that's already here. That's what I would rather see. Carranza, I'm going to be honest with you. He plays for a team that I don't think I don't think is that good. And he's actually the only player for over 10 years from the organization that he plays for that's won a Player of the Week award twice. So he's a decent player, but here's the problem. It's the MLS. And how is he going to transition to Greece? The MLS is a shitty league. I live in the United States. I will tell you, it is improved. The league has improved, but it's still garbage. You have guys that can score 100 goals against literally defensive players that make less than $80,000 a year. Dollars, not euros, dollars. Okay? So Messi even said that he's not playing against like real players. He said that in an interview. Because it's true. What kind of defenders? The league here isn't incentivized to build good teams or to build defenses. You buy attacking players. That's what everybody wants. That's what wins you the league. So you have garbage defenders. Why spend the money on it? So no, I don't think a guy from the MLS is going to really help us. This is actually a great comment. Yes, Giakoumakis is a star in the MLS. So he won like the best new player in the MLS. He like outdid Messi, which is absurd. But anyway, just to give you an idea. So if you think Carranza is going to be a great addition for us, you would then have to think if Giakoumakis would be, right? So, and I don't think Giakoumakis is that great of a player. So that's my answer. I would rather us promote Aga Simba. He looks good, guys, when he's playing. Also, congratulations to DB Keita, who's been injured for like 2 seasons, and he had a brace of goals today. We've got talent. We've got talent in this organization. Let's promote it. I would rather, if the season is going to be a bust, I would rather us start promoting some of this talent. Sure, maybe Kostulas is a little bit too young for us to like really thrust in there. Fine. Needs to be practicing with the first team. Mouzakitis needs to be practicing with the first team. Let some of these guys practice. Let them practice with the team. Start building up from here first, because we need to do what Per Zetterberg had told us about the outlook from Swedish clubs. If the player you're bringing in isn't 100% better than what you have already in an academy or on, from one of your young guys that's in the academy, you do not spend the money on them. We posted the stats from the football observatory, and Greek clubs, it was like we showed less than like 13% of our overall minutes to youngsters. Disgusting. Oh boy, where's Ramon?
That's the question. Where's Ramon? No,
Costas, you wanted to add something?
No, I think Ari touched on a few of the points that I wanted to raise about how we can better utilize the B team and some of the talent we have in the youth. The other one I wanted to mention was Kalogeropoulos. I thought he looked pretty good. I thought he looked pretty good today.
Sorry to interrupt you, but the goal that he scored is an own goal. I blame that guy Shelley, who for some reason he crouched when the cross came in from Rodinei. He crouched, and I think that took Kalogeropoulos from surprise, and he had very little time to think what he's going to do, and he just did that. It's much better than doing nothing. Go ahead, please. Sorry to interrupt.
And then there was an action like 5 minutes after that where he actually was in front of goal and he got his foot in the way of a cross and he diverted the ball over the bar. So he wasn't afraid to go in for the challenge on that one as well, even though he just scored an own goal. And in general, like I thought he going one-on-one with Fortounis, one of the best dribblers in the league, did really well, man. And he's still young. He broke onto the scene when he was 16. He made his debut with Martinez. He must be 19 now. It makes me think he looks better than some of the centre-backs we have on our team. So, yeah. And, Dibi Keita as well. That's a big positive today. Like you said, a guy that's been out for 2 seasons, getting 2 goals today against Chania, who's top of the table in Super League 2, 3-0 win today for the B team. So props to them. Ibarasa's obviously doing something well since he came back last season. His return was also a spark plug for Alguacil Bar's goal streak. at the end of last season. So yeah, like, you know, we can sit here and discuss this all day, but at least from the outside looking in, I can't really see the connect between the B team and the first team. I can understand to a point that the manager, again, in a first season, doesn't want to take the gamble. I mean, he's not taking the gamble with players like Brinic. So yeah, no, man. I don't know. Again, it goes back to kind of the point that I made earlier. The board's got to set the tone for where do we go from here. There's been a lot of talk in the press about, you know, the chairman speaking with Gordon and coordinating with the new guy Alves about what to do. Stop talking and start doing. Yeah, stop talking and start doing. Like, are we just going to throw cash at people in January? I hope not. Are we going to cut the squad and start promoting players like Doran Leidner, who's coming back? Because we've got gaps at left back. Like when Ortega's not playing, Kinney's not performing. Doran Leidner's coming back. Is he going to get a chance? Or are we going to wait for Omar Richards before we play him?
Oh, man. I'm more likely to play at left back than Omar Richards, I'm afraid.
Probably.
Before we go to man of the match and coach's grade, I'd like to finish this on a positive note from our own Labrosirmos. Olympiacos has been destroyed by the management. What we speak about will never happen with current management. So there's some positivity for everyone. So, guys, coach's grade, man of the match. Who wants to go first? Ari, you're alphabetical.
Man of the match. I mean, who do you give man of the match today? I mean, goals were called back. Who?
You know what?
Let me try.
No, go ahead, Costa.
I'm having trouble thinking about, like, performance-wise, who I thought was exceptional, because nobody was.
Right.
I would just give it to Masouras because of what he did.
Yeah.
After the goal.
I was thinking of that.
Yeah, I really liked the reaction from him. You can tell though, like, he's a player that's really benefited from the way that, you know, he's used. I mean, Martinez has used him as a striker. When I was at a press conference after the Genk game, I asked Martinez, like, what's your idea when you play Masouras as a striker? Like, he's never really played there before. Why? And, you know, he was he was full of praise for Masouras for his effort. And, you know, this is a player that we moan about him sometimes, or a lot of times on the pod. Again, Greek players are always the easiest targets, but if you think about it, you can't really blame him for anything. Like, he gives everything every game, and he's got his weaknesses, his strengths, and, you know, I want to give him a shout out today. I think what he did was, you know, it could help hopefully galvanize the squad to a point, because the other, like, before that, they didn't go and celebrate with the coach, did they? It was really him. Like,
No. El Kabi celebrated with his teammates, but then after Masouras scored, they all celebrated, and they all celebrated after El Kabi scored.
After the third, yeah. But
Right.
Masouras had already set the tone, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Well, if I could help, maybe I could help Aris, because I'm also stumped. According to SofaScore, Rodinei and Julian Biancon were our best players. 7.7, both of them. Quite a match from Biancon. It wasn't earth-shattering, obviously, not the new Melberg by a long shot, but quite a decent performance from him today. Maybe another option at centre back with this defensive crisis / Panos Retsos getting a red card issue going on. I'd give it to Biancon happily for him.
Actually, I know who I'll give it.
Biancon.
I know who I give my man of the match to, now that I think about it. My man of the match goes to Achilles Beos, because he could have kept the players in there. we would have lost 3-0 again, probably had another point deduction, and it would have been an even bigger disaster with fans. So we're not going to be -4. So because he said he didn't want Volos to be any part of a team facing or any part of a team that gets punished, and be a part of a team getting punished. So there you go.
I think they didn't. I think they came out because they knew basically that they couldn't really pin that on Olympiacos getting a punishment, because that was pretty much the police doing what they did with both sets of players running. Actually, this was a very serious situation, guys. Like, both sets of players couldn't breathe. Their eyes were tearing. This was a very serious situation. The way they left, they weren't supposed to leave that way. Thankfully, someone at the stadium had the wherewithal to open that door over there, because they were supposed to. The entrance and the exit was on the other side of the door. Was on the other side of the stadium, which they would never dare to do to make that trek. And someone had the wherewithal to open that for them. So, big ups on them. So, guys,
and Beos lost weight too. He definitely lost weight.
Can we stop talking about Achilles Beos, because I feel like I've already used enough curse words, and I don't want YouTube to ban us or.
Have
whatever.
you guys ever experienced tear gas?
Never.
Never, no.
Where did you experience it?
Highly unpleasant.
I've heard so. How did you experience it?
AEK Olympiakos, the season we lost 2-1 with the Karim goal, and then the 2 goals that they scored at the end, Yakumakis and whoever it was before that. I think
Karaiskakis, yeah.
Chigrinsky corner, and then the Yakumakis and a finisher at the end. Before the game started, there was clashes between our fans and MAD, like the police outside the stadium, and I was about 400 meters away from what was going on, and you could see they threw tear gas at our boys, and within about 2-3 minutes it came over to us.
Yeah.
And I just remember, like, my eyes starting to flare up, and my throat feeling, the only way I can describe it is just red hot, like burning, my eyes burning, my throat burning. You get the gas on your hands, so you can't, like, do this. If you do this, it gets worse. I heard from some people inside the stadium today that they didn't open the gates for a long time. So they, or at least, like, the police had thrown the tear gas into the stands and the gates were closed. So, like, women, children, families that went to watch the game, they were just stuck there. They couldn't get away. So yeah, so sorry. That's a shitty way to end this. But yeah, tear gas, not pleasant.
When it comes to coaches' grade, I mean, I personally would give Diego Martinez a B-. That sounds a little high, but I think I'd give him a B- because of the fact that after all those reports, after all that speculation, and considering that if that was true, the guy was professional from the first minute until the last. He was a pro in there, and I feel like his team management wasn't that bad today. If anything, it looked a lot better. I mean, thinking quickly after that red card on Retsos and bringing in Santiago Eze because Bora had to go at center back, I feel like he did pretty well today. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, he won this game. I mean, VAR got in the way. Olympiacos, in my opinion, won this game 4-2. He won this game after a horrible result against Freiburg. He showed the stones. He showed class against all this drama. I'd give him a B-.
C.
Ari?
C.
Why?
I'm gonna be honest with you, Costa. Like, I didn't think we were playing that special. And I know I was in and out constantly because I was watching it on my phone, on a train. So, but I mean, leading up to it, I didn't think we looked fantastic. And it is his job to prepare. It is his job to prepare the team. You know, the mistake from Retsos, the mistake from Ibora. There's two. It's happened. It's happening too frequently, and I still think we have the talent. We should have been able to beat this team, manufacture more opportunities, and we didn't. Also, some of the changes I really didn't like. I mean, Carvalho, man. I mean,
Yeah.
how does this guy keep getting game time when he's done absolutely nothing for us since preseason? It's really boggling my mind.
So we don't have options in midfield, Ari. Sorry to cut you off. Like, we don't have options in midfield.
That's true. You're right, man. It's very true. But I don't know. Maybe C's too harsh. Maybe C plus. But he was professional. But I mean, what I expected from the talk about, the players talked about this and that, I didn't see that on the field. It took us getting red card, and it took them getting fired up about some bad calls here and there for me to really start to see the fire. And I don't know. Maybe it's also because I've been upset and disappointed most of the day, so it's kind of hampering the good things. Maybe when I watch the game a second time, I'll have a different opinion on it. But right now, I wasn't overly impressed.
No, there's nothing about the way that we play right now that shows a plan, even though earlier in the season there seemed to be, at least going forward, a way of playing and identity that was being developed. In the last couple of games, you just haven't seen that at all, even against a lesser side today. No disrespects. So, the other thing today is I thought Youssef El Arabi could have come on earlier, in my mind. I thought he reacted quickly with the Hesse change. I agree with you there, Costa. But yeah, it's pretty much either a B- or a C plus, maybe just a straight up C today from him. And I showed you guys a screenshot before the game started of our bench today. And you look at our bench today: Hesse, Carvalho, El Arabi, Kini, Zolakis, Doi, Alexandropoulos, Karakoutis, and Brinic. Who's the game changer there? El Arabi, maybe, at 37 years of age, however old he is now. That's it. There's no one else on that bench today that I think, bring him on, he's going to change the game for me. So can you blame him in terms of what he has available? He decided to drop Olasel Bakin today. Sign of things to come.
It is a sign of things to come.
Yeah.
Well, guys, this is it today. I mean, we're way over an hour, almost an hour and a half. Volos Olympiacos 2-2. Still a lot of questions, a lot of drama. We're expecting a lot more drama tomorrow, depending on the match report right there. I was Costas Lianos, or Costas with a K, if you prefer. I was joined by Ari Bouloubasis and Costas Levoyanis, or Costas with a C. Guys, unless you got something else to add? 9. I think we covered all bases here. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, do not forget to like and subscribe, as it really, really helps the channel. Don't forget to join us on Patreon, patreon.com/Gate7International. We'd love to have you over there. And guys, until then, thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.